They thought the war for Roloff Farms was over when Zach and Tori moved to Washington. They thought the dust had settled when the for sale sign was taken down. But new reports coming out of Hillsborough suggest that the real battle hasn't even started yet. And this time, the weapon isn't a negotiation tactic or a lowball offer. It is a secret legal document that could erase the Roloff legacy forever. We are tracking a developing story that changes everything we thought we knew about Matt Roloff's estate planning. We are talking about a specific alleged modification to his living trust, a modification that insiders believe is being orchestrated not by Matt, but by Caryn Chandler. The headline is terrifying for longtime fans. Caryn bans the grandkids. But the reality is much more complex and much more dangerous. We're looking at a secret clause that gives Caryn 100% executive control of the farm, effectively leaving Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob with absolutely nothing. No land, no inheritance, no say. And the most shocking part? Amy Roloff might be the only person standing in the way of this disaster. Today, we are connecting the dots on the timeline, the leaked legal theories, and the slip-ups that have exposed what we are calling the Chandler Protocol. To understand the gravity of this situation, you have to look beyond the reality show editing. You have to look at the legal structure of the farm itself. For years, the assumption was that the north side, the heart of the farm, the castle, the pumpkin patch, would eventually pass down to the children. Even when negotiations with Zach fell through, the public assumption was that the asset would remain in the family trust. But sources close to the situation are whispering about a drastic shift in Matt's demeanor over the last 6 months. He is looking tired. He is looking overwhelmed. And significantly, he is deferring more and more operational power to Caryn. This isn't just about managing the pumpkin season anymore. We are hearing reports of Caryn attending high-level meetings with estate planners in Portland, sometimes without Matt even being present in the room. Why would a girlfriend, not a wife, not a blood relative, be sitting in on meetings regarding the disposition of a multi-million-dollar generational asset? The theory we are investigating today is that Caryn is pushing for a survivor's control clause. Here's how the theory works and why it is so devastating for the Roloff children. In a standard trust, if Matt were to pass away, the assets would typically be managed by a trustee for the benefit of his heirs, his 4 children. But if these exclusive theories are correct, Caryn is manipulating Matt into drafting a new living trust. This document wouldn't just give her a payout, it would designate her as the executive trustee with full, unchecked authority to liquidate assets. That means the moment Matt is gone, she wouldn't have to ask Zach or Jeremy for permission to sell. She wouldn't have to honor any verbal promises Matt made to the grandkids about playing on the pirate ship or the castle. She could sell the entire property to a developer, take the cash, and walk away, leaving the Roloff dynasty in ruins. And why now? Why the urgency? Because the grandkids are getting older. The longer Matt waits, the more involved the next generation becomes. If Caryn wants to cash out, she has to lock down this legal control before Matt's health declines further and before the kids can mount a legal defense. Let's look at the evidence that supports this terrifying possibility. Think back to the tension we saw regarding the management of the farm. Zach mentioned he was being blocked from certain decisions. He mentioned a toxic environment. At the time, we thought he was just bitter about the negotiation. But what if he saw the writing on the wall? What if Zach realized that he wasn't just negotiating with his father, but he was negotiating against a shadow partner who was whispering in Matt's ear? There have been subtle hints that access to the big house has been restricted. We've seen less and less of the grandkids freely roaming the property in recent updates. Is this just a family feud, or is it the beginning of a calculated exile? If this new living trust is signed, that exile becomes permanent. The document allegedly removes the right of first refusal for the kids. That is the smoking gun. The right of first refusal is the legal safety net that guarantees if the farm is sold, the kids get the first chance to buy it. If that clause is deleted, Caryn can sell to the highest bidder, likely a commercial developer, without even picking up the phone to call Jeremy or Zach. We have to talk about the villain's plan here. It is not enough to simply say Caryn is greedy. We have to understand the narrative she is allegedly feeding Matt to get him to agree to this. Matt Roloff is a smart businessman. He built this from nothing. So how do you trick a man like that into disinheriting his own legacy? You play on his emotions. You play on his feeling of abandonment. The theory suggests that Caryn is systematically convincing Matt that the children are ungrateful. She is painting a picture where the kids have moved on, where they don't care about the maintenance, the work, or the burden of the farm. She is likely telling him, "Matt, I am the only one who helps you. I am the only one who knows the books. If something happens to you, the kids will just fight over the scraps. They'll destroy what you built. Let me protect it. Give me the control so I can manage the legacy properly." It is a classic manipulation tactic. Isolate the target, vilify the support system, and position yourself as the only savior. By framing herself as the protector of the asset, she convinces Matt that giving her executive control is the only way to save the farm from the kids squabbling. But we know the truth. We know that Zach and Jeremy have spent their entire lives on that land. We know they want it. This isn't about protection, it is about liquidation. Caryn knows that the farm is worth millions. She also knows that as a girlfriend, she has no legal claim to it if Matt dies without a will or a trust naming her. She is not his wife. If Matt passes away tomorrow without this new document, the farm goes to the kids, and Caryn gets nothing. That is the motivation. That is the ticking clock. She needs that signature, and she needs it before anyone realizes what is happening. There is another layer to this secret trust theory that is even more disturbing. Reports suggest there is a clause regarding the dwelling usage. This is the legal term for who is allowed to live on the property. Insider speculation points to a provision that would allow Caryn to ban specific individuals from the premises if she deems them disruptive to the business operations. Interpret that how you will, but in the context of the Roloff family drama, that sounds like a legal loophole designed to keep Amy, Zach, and Tori off the land permanently. Imagine a world where Jackson and Lila are legally trespassing on the land their grandfather built because Caryn Chandler decided it was bad for business. It sounds like a soap opera script, but in the world of high-stakes estate litigation, these clauses are real, and they are deadly. The timeline of these alleged meetings is crucial. We tracked a timeline that coincides with Matt's recent trips away from the farm. While Matt is distracted or resting, sources claim the legal drafts are being revised. The language is being tightened. The right of first refusal is being struck out. The executive control is being bolded. This is a race against time. Matt is vulnerable. He wants peace. He wants the fighting to stop. And Caryn is offering him a false peace. Sign this and I'll handle everything. You won't have to deal with the kids' complaints anymore. It is a seductive offer for a man who is tired of the conflict, but it is a deal with the devil. But secrets in a small town like Hillsborough are hard to keep, especially when lawyers are involved. Legal circles are small. Paralegals talk, files get left on desks, and this is where the story takes a turn. Because while Caryn is playing 4D chess, she forgot one thing. Amy Roloff has been part of this business equation for 30 years. Amy's name is on the history of that land. Amy still has contacts in the legal world from the divorce proceedings. Lawyers who remember the original agreements. Lawyers who know what was promised to those boys. The rumors of this secret trust didn't just stay in the lawyer's office. They leaked. And they didn't leak to the press first. They leaked to the one person who has the power and the fury to burn the whole plan to the ground. We are hearing reports that a specific incident occurred at a law firm in downtown Portland. A scheduling error, a misdirected email, a casual comment made by an associate attorney who didn't realize who they were talking to. Something slipped, and that slip-up made its way back to Amy. We are going to get into the specifics of that interception in the foreword of this report, but you need to understand the stakes right now. If Matt signs this document, it is over. It is irrevocable. Once the Roloff Revocable Management Trust is amended to name Caryn as the sole executive trustee with liquidation rights, the kids are out. They can sue later, but the land will be gone. The money will be moved. The legacy will be sold for parts. We are watching a slow-motion car crash, and the driver doesn't even realize he's cut the brakes. Matt thinks he is estate planning. Caryn knows she is heist planning. She's banking on Matt's trust and the kids' distance. She thinks she has won. She thinks the ungrateful narrative has worked. She thinks the kids are too busy with their own lives to notice the legal shark circling the water. But she underestimated the bond between a mother and her children. She underestimated the fact that Amy Roloff, despite the divorce, despite the new marriage to Chris, will never stop fighting for what is rightfully her children's inheritance. The stage is set. The document is drafted. The pen is hovering over the paper. The secret trust is days away from being executed. But the resistance is mobilizing. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about preventing a total erasure of the Roloff family history. As we move into the forward phase of this investigation, ask yourself, why is Caryn so desperate to hide these meetings? If her intentions were pure, if she really just wanted to help Matt manage the farm, why wouldn't she want the kids involved? Why wouldn't she want a roundtable discussion? The secrecy is the proof. The secrecy is the admission of guilt. She knows that if Zach or Jeremy saw that draft, they would never speak to their father again. She knows that if Amy saw it, she would declare war. And that is exactly what is about to happen. The secret was supposed to be airtight. The meetings were held behind closed doors, the emails were encrypted, and the draft document was kept off the main server. But in the legal world, paper trails are impossible to erase completely, especially when you are dealing with a property as high profile as Roloff Farms. The interception of this plot didn't come from a spy or a hacker. It came from a conscience. We are receiving exclusive information about a phone call that changed the trajectory of this entire crisis. An old family attorney, someone who had worked with both Matt and Amy during the early years of the farm, someone who remembered when the twins were just babies running through the peach orchards, saw a flagged file cross their desk. This attorney wasn't representing Matt in the current trust revision, but they were CC'd on a query regarding title transfer history. When they dug a little deeper to answer the query, they saw the new proposed language. They saw the Chandler Protocol, and they saw the removal of the clause that protected the Roloff children. According to our sources, this attorney couldn't ethically breach attorney-client privilege, but they could make a welfare check. The tip came to Amy not as a legal briefing, but as a cryptic warning from an old friend. The message was allegedly simple and chilling. Matt is signing away the future. You have less than an hour. This is where the narrative shifts from a slow-burn mystery to a high-speed thriller. Amy Roloff, who has spent the last few years trying to distance herself from the farm drama, trying to build a peaceful life with Chris, was suddenly pulled back in by the gravitational force of her maternal instinct. She didn't call Zach. She didn't call Jeremy. She knew that if she alerted the boys, they would react with emotion. They would yell, they would scream, and Matt would shut down. Matt would dig his heels in. No, Amy knew this had to be handled surgically. She grabbed her keys, she grabbed Chris, and she grabbed a file box that she has kept in her safe since the divorce was finalized. We have to speculate on what was in that box, but legal experts following the Roloff saga believe it contained the original Declaration of Intent and the specific divorce decree addendums regarding the right of first refusal. This is the weapon Amy needed. The theory is that while Matt bought Amy out, the buyout came with strings attached. Strings that Matt and Caryn are conveniently forgetting. The drive to the farm was reportedly tense. Chris Merrick, usually the calm mediator, was driving. Amy was on the phone, likely trying to reach Matt, but his phone was going straight to voicemail. Was it turned off? Or was Caryn screening his calls? The timeline suggests the latter. While Amy was racing down the highway, back at the farm, the signing ceremony was allegedly already being prepped. Picture the scene inside the big house office. The same office where Matt has hatched 1,000 schemes is now the setting for the ultimate betrayal. Reports indicate that a notary was present, along with Caryn and a new legal representative, not the family lawyer, but a corporate asset specialist, brought in specifically for this restructuring. The mood was described as strictly business. Caryn was reportedly hovering, ensuring Matt had his water, his glasses, and a pen. She was facilitating the speed of the transaction. The goal was to get the signature on the Executive Control Amendment before the weekend. If Matt signed that document, the farm would legally transfer into a protective holding pattern under Caryn's sole discretion the moment Matt was incapacitated. It was minutes away from becoming reality. But then, the interception happened. Witnesses near the farm entrance reported seeing Amy's car speeding up the long driveway, bypassing the usual parking spots and pulling right up to the main office entrance. This wasn't a social visit. This was a raid. Amy and Chris burst into the office, interrupting the proceedings. You can imagine the shock on Matt's face. He hates confrontation that he doesn't control. And you can imagine the look on Caryn's face, the color draining away as she realized her timeline had just been shattered. Amy didn't come in screaming about feelings. She didn't cry about how mean they were being. She came in like a prosecutor. She slammed that file box on the desk and demanded the notary step out of the room. This is the moment that defines the legal battle we are covering. Amy's argument, according to insiders, was brilliant and devastating. She didn't argue with Matt. She argued with the law. She pointed to the secret trust draft and asked a simple question. Does this document disclose the 1990 co-investment clause? The room likely went silent. We are uncovering a theory that suggests when the farm was originally expanded, it wasn't just Matt's money. It was partially funded by an inheritance or a specific savings fund from Amy's side of the family. Even though they divorced, and even though Matt bought her out, there is a legal theory that the future interest of the children was tied to that original capital contribution. In layman's terms, Amy's money helped buy the land, so Amy's contract guarantees the land goes to the kids. Matt cannot legally give Caryn control over an asset that was partially built with Amy's blood money. Amy reportedly looked Matt dead in the eye and revealed the trap Caryn had set. She exposed the right of first refusal deletion. She showed Matt the page 42, paragraph 3, where the text usually says, "The children shall have the option to purchase," and showed him it had been replaced with, "The executive trustee shall have sole discretion to liquidate." She forced Matt to read it. "Is this what you want, Matt?" she allegedly asked. "Do you want to be the man who sold his grandkids' heritage to a developer? Because if you sign this, that is exactly what happens. Caryn sells. The kids get nothing. And I will sue this estate until there is not a single pumpkin left." The tension in that room must have been suffocating. Caryn, realizing her narrative was crumbling, likely tried to intervene. We theorize she tried to use the protection angle again. "Matt, she's being hysterical. This is just standard language to protect you from taxes. We can amend it later." But Amy cut her off. "There is no amending later. This is a living trust. It activates instantly." Amy didn't just appeal to Matt's logic, she appealed to his fear. Matt Roloff is terrified of his legacy being tainted. He wants to be remembered as a visionary, not a villain. Amy showed him that this document made him the ultimate villain. She threatened to take this public immediately, not just to the courts, but to the audience. "Do you want the world to know you cut your kids out?" This was the turning point. The interception worked because it exposed the one thing Matt hates most: being manipulated. Matt prides himself on being the smartest guy in the room, but as Amy laid out the legal clauses, the survivor's control, the dwelling ban, the liquidation authority, Matt started to realize he hadn't actually read the fine print. He had trusted the summaries given to him, summaries provided by Caryn. The realization started to dawn on him that he wasn't the master planner here. He was the mark. The pen was still on the table. The notary was waiting in the hall. The document was unsigned. But the energy had shifted. The secret trust was no longer a secret, and the woman Matt thought was his manager was suddenly looking a lot more like a beneficiary waiting for a payout. Amy kept the pressure on. She reminded him of the promise he made to Jackson. She reminded him of the pirate ship. "You built that for them," she surely said. "Why are you signing a paper that lets her tear it down?" She wasn't just fighting for Zach and Jeremy. She was fighting for the very soul of the property. And Chris stood by the door, a silent sentinel, ensuring that Caryn couldn't usher Matt away to cool down and manipulate him back into submission. They had to finish this now. The document had to be destroyed, or the war would never end. As we move to the final part of this report, we have to look at the fallout. Matt is sitting there, looking at the two women in his life. One is the mother of his children, holding a contract that protects the family. The other is his partner, holding a contract that enriches herself. The choice he makes in the next 5 minutes will decide the fate of Roloff Farms forever. Did he sign? Or did the secret trust end up in the shredder? We are about to reveal the explosive conclusion to this confrontation and the humiliation that followed for the one person who tried to steal the Roloff legacy. The silence in that office was reportedly deafening. You could hear a pin drop on the hardwood floors as Matt Roloff stared at the document in his hands, really reading it for the first time. Amy Roloff stood across from him, her hands still firmly planted on the file box that contained the proof of her financial contribution to this empire. Chris Merrick stood by the door, a silent guardian, ensuring there was no escape from the truth. And Caryn Chandler, the woman who had allegedly orchestrated this entire executive control takeover, stood frozen. Sources say she tried to break the tension, tried to laugh it off as a misunderstanding. She reportedly said something to the effect of, "Matt, honey, Amy is just being dramatic. That clause is just legal boilerplate. It doesn't mean I would sell the farm. It just gives me the option to handle the estate without bothering the kids." That was the fatal mistake. That was the slip-up. By admitting that the clause gave her the option to sell without the kids' consent, she confirmed exactly what Amy had been shouting about. Matt Roloff may be stubborn, and he may have a complicated relationship with his sons, but he has always maintained one core belief. He is the architect of the Roloff legacy. The idea that someone, anyone, could sell his life's work to a strip mall developer without his bloodline having a say triggered something in him. We are hearing that Matt's demeanor shifted instantly. The confusion vanished, replaced by the cold, hard stare of a businessman who realizes a deal has gone bad. He didn't yell, he didn't make a scene, he simply looked at the notary, then back at the document. According to the exclusive theories we are tracking, Matt took the pen, but he didn't sign the signature line. Instead, he drew a thick, heavy line through the executive trustee paragraph. He crossed it out. He then reportedly looked at Caryn and asked a question that shattered the room. "Why did you tell me the lawyer said this was necessary for taxes?" The implication was clear. Caryn had allegedly framed this power grab as a financial necessity, a tax loophole to save money. But Amy had just exposed it as a control mechanism. The mask slipped. Caryn stammered, trying to pivot back to the ungrateful kids narrative, trying to remind Matt of how much work she does. But the spell was broken. Matt realized that the ungrateful kids weren't the ones trying to legally evict him from his own legacy. The woman standing next to him was. This is the victory moment. But it wasn't just about stopping the signing. Amy wasn't leaving without insurance. She knew that if she walked out that door, Caryn could just talk Matt into a new draft next week. So, Amy played her final card. She opened the file box and pulled out a pre-prepared document, a codicil, or an amendment to the original deed. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a demand. She reportedly told Matt, "If you want to prove that you haven't turned your back on your family, you sign this right now." This document reinstates the right of first refusal for Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob. It guarantees that no sale can happen without a unanimous vote from the immediate family. This was the trap Caryn never saw coming. Amy used the chaos of the moment to force Matt's hand. If he refused to sign Amy's protection clause, he would be admitting that he wanted to disinherit the kids. He would be proving Caryn right. To save face, and perhaps out of a renewed sense of guilt, Matt agreed. The notary, who was likely uncomfortable and ready to leave, was instructed to notarize this new handwritten amendment on the spot. Matt signed it. Amy signed it as the witness and original stakeholder. In a matter of 10 minutes, the power dynamic of Roloff Farms shifted back to the family. The Chandler Protocol was dead in the water. The humiliation for Caryn was absolute. She had walked into that room expecting to become the legal owner of the Roloff estate's future. She walked out with nothing but a bruised ego and the realization that she had overplayed her hand. We are told that she excused herself from the room before the new amendment was even fully notarized, claiming she had a headache. But insiders suggest she was furious. She had spent months, maybe years, isolating Matt, whispering in his ear, and setting up this legal structure only to have it dismantled by Amy Roloff in a single afternoon. The secret trust was shredded, literally. Reports say Matt fed the draft into the office shredder while Amy watched. It was the symbolic end of the coup. But what happens now? This is the aftermath we are living in. The reason you haven't seen this on the show, the reason TLC hasn't aired this footage, is because of the legal fallout. NDAs were likely signed to keep the specific details of the trust private. However, look at the behavior. Look at the recent social media posts. Have you noticed Matt spending more time with the grandkids lately? Have you noticed a slight distance between Matt and Caryn in their public appearances? The theory is that Matt is now sleeping with one eye open. He knows now. He knows that the person sleeping next to him had a plan to liquidate his life's work. They are still together, likely for the show, likely for convenience, but the trust is gone. The blind faith is gone. And for the kids, Zach and Jeremy may never know how close they came to losing everything. They are living their lives, raising their children, thinking the farm drama is just about negotiations. They have no idea that their mother stormed the castle and saved their inheritance from a secret legal execution. Amy Roloff went to war for them. She didn't do it for credit. She didn't do it for a storyline. She did it because she is a mother. She secured a contract that ensures the land remains in the Roloff name, regardless of who Matt is dating. The farm is safe, not because of Matt's generosity, but because of Amy's intervention. This story changes everything we thought about the villain of Roloff Farms. We thought the enemy was stubbornness or pride. But it turns out the enemy was greed. A specific, calculated greed that tried to exploit a lonely man and erase a family's history. Caryn Chandler tried to ban the grandkids. She tried to take 100% control, and she failed. She failed because she underestimated the one force on that farm stronger than Matt's ego: Amy Roloff's love for her children. She went after the grandkids. That is the final straw. That is the line you do not cross. We have exposed the secret meetings, the leaked documents, and the confrontation that saved the farm. But the battle isn't over. Caryn is still there. She is still in the house. Do you think she has given up, or is she just planning her next move? Do you think Matt finally sees Caryn's true colors, or is he still under her spell? And the biggest question of all, would you have the courage to do what Amy did? Would you storm into that office and flip the table to defend your family? If you support Amy Roloff and believe the farm belongs to the kids, you need to hit that like button right now. Let's get this video to 5,000 likes to show the Roloff boys the truth about what their mother did for them. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we have more leaked documents coming next week about the hidden bank accounts that were discovered during this investigation. You do not want to miss that. Share this video if you think Caryn needs to leave the farm for good. I'm signing off, but remember, the truth always comes out in the end. Stay tuned.